It was a dark and stormy night, the kind of stormy that I loved, thunder and lightning roaring. So I was staying up late watching movies. I lived with my dad, but he wasn't home that night. He was working nights. Anyway, after I finished watching the movie Forrest Gump for the 100th time, I decided 2 a.m. was a good time to get some shut-eye. I loved going to sleep during thunderstorms. It was just enjoyable to listen to. But suddenly, I heard the sound of something hitting my window. It wasn't the sound of rain hitting the window, but in such a big storm, I didn't think much of it and put my head back down. But a few seconds later, the same noise. Something hits the window again. This time, I made out the sound to be a rock hitting the window. My heart started racing. It couldn't be my dad. He would call if something was wrong. Another rock hits the window. I found myself glued to my bed. I didn't want to look out the window, but whoever was outside surely knew I was up there. I had just turned the TV off. They could have seen the bright glare through the window. I just decided if I ignored it, they would go away. Another rock hit the window, and then another. It was getting faster. The rain started to lighten up, and that's when I heard the sound of a truck engine running down in the street. A much louder thump to the window was where I drew the line. I got out of my bed, planning to call the cops. I ran down the stairs towards the phone, but as I passed the front door, I saw something. Something through the glass window at the top of the door. It was the face of a person looking through to me. It seemed like they had a smile on their face. I sprinted to the kitchen and called the police. They said there was an officer nearby and they should be there shortly. Whoever was at the door started fiddling with a doorknob and eventually ramming into it, trying to bust it open. I grabbed a knife for protection and yelled that the police were coming before running back upstairs to my room. After about a minute, the ramming to the door stopped, and there were no more rocks hitting my window. I still didn't dare to look out the window, but I remember hearing the sound of the truck driving off. A few minutes later, I heard the sound of a police siren outside, and moments later the doorbell rang. I explained everything to the officer. I described the face as best as I could. Unfortunately, I couldn't provide him any information about the vehicle. If only I had looked out the window. I still regret not taking a quick look. There was never enough info for the police to catch these people. Not sure if they had intentions of robbing my house or much worse. Story 2. Before we get into this story, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment as this will help push the video out. Also share it about. I am trying to reach 1K subs by May 15th. Thanks for all the support. This happened to my old uncle when he was a little kid. I think it messed him up a bit emotionally and even traumatized him a little bit. But he has never really admitted it, and I think it still haunts him to this day. Even hearing this story, it really freaks me out just imagining it and thinking what I would do in that situation. So, I'm pretty sure my dad was about 10 or 9 years old, and he was home alone for whatever reason. I think his parents were out for some dinner or something. He was watching TV in the living room. It was the only TV in the house. It was a small house on the corner of the block, just a nice small family house. My uncle was watching some old kid TV show. My uncle told me he remembers the exact moment it happened. It was some kid going down a slide at the playground, and all of a sudden the TV just shut off. It went completely black. So he got up and turned it back on, as you were able to turn it on from the side of the TV. It was a really old, crappy TV, so it wasn't weird at all. He carried on watching the TV. Then all of a sudden it goes completely black. When it happened, he turned the TV on once again. He then got back on his couch. This happened a couple more times before he started to look for the remote. He started flipping over the cushions on the couch. While searching for the remote, he walked over to check behind one of the other couches in the room. Then he saw a man hiding in the corner, holding the TV remote, and he was just blankly staring at my uncle. My uncle described the man as having long, messy, greasy hair and a crazed look in his eyes. He gave my dad a wide, disturbed, creepy smile, and my uncle ran as fast as he could out the front door, screaming like a little girl. He went to his neighbors, who called the police. The man was still in the house when the police got there, so he was arrested. My uncle told me when the man was getting took into the police car. He was giving my uncle that same blank stare, and when he was in the back seat, he started to grin. Then he had a wide, creepy smile and even winked at me as the police car drove off. My uncle told me that he still assumes the man was either homeless or crazy. Either way, This story is downright terrifying and still gives him nightmares to this day. Story 3. My older cousin told me about something that happened to her when she was younger, about 7 or 8. She was at school, it was lunchtime, she was playing chases with some of her friends, and she noticed some man wearing a long coat and had a really scruffy beard with long gray hair, pacing back and forth outside the school gates looking at us really creepily. But she didn't think much of it. She was sitting in her class, it was about 3 p.m. and school was just about to shut for the day. Then she noticed the same man with the long coat, and he was still pacing back and forth outside the school gate. She was walking home from school and got her key out to let herself into the house. Her single mom worked a typical 9-to-5 job and sometimes came home later on weekdays. As she reached up to put the key in the door, her mom opened it in a dressing gown. Having left work sick, instead of greeting her and asking how her day has been, which she always does, she looked straight past my cousin and immediately said, "Who are you?" My friend turned around, and a man in a long coat hurried back down the path and down the street. Being ill that day had possibly saved her daughter from something potentially horrible happening to her. My cousin was horrified knowing that creepy man was following her that whole time, but it doesn't end there. My bedroom is on the bottom floor. I was trying to sleep since I had school the next morning and had to be up early. Then I hear a knock on my bedroom window, and I instantly screamed and my mom came rushing in. I told her about what happened. Then she looked out the window and there was no one there. I'll update you guys if anything else happens. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe, like, and follow my other socials down below, and send your true stories to my email down below.